Hello everyone, my name is Shonfield and my story is called My Incredible Adventure in Aotearoa. Now for those of you who don't speak Maori, Aotearoa means New Zealand. There I was, nose to nose with the most intimidating man I have ever seen. He had tattoos covering his face, gang symbols on his cheeks, and the word notorious etched across his nose. He had a mighty presence, big and tall, with his hair tied up high, and his eyes hidden behind Dolce & Gabbana sunglasses. We put our arms around each other and pressed noses together. Sort of like this. What we had just done was called a hongi. In order to be welcomed into a Maori family, you have to hongi with every single member. When you press noses, the symbolism is that you share the same breath. I had shared my breath with Francis, and despite his frightening appearance, he was surprisingly friendly. And just, if you want to come look after or now, I have pictures of Francis with his face covered in tattoos and the Mongrel Mob gang tattoos on his cheeks. He was one hell of a scary man. I was in this situation because of New Zealand's Waitangi Day, a national holiday on February the 6th. It is a day that celebrates the time when the English and Maori settlers signed a treaty to share the land together. Of course, it's more complicated than that, as is exemplified in Canadian treaties. But every year in Waitangi, which is just north of Paia in the North Island, Maoris come in their wakas, think like dragon boats going down a river. So everyone, the whole family is in this dragon boat, and they land on a beach where they perform a haka, which is a war dance, and they go blah, and stick out their tongues really loud and do all that fun stuff. We were just like their ancestors did in 1840 when the treaty was first signed. So I was lucky enough to be spending the week before Waitangi Day with the NgaPuhi Maoris to learn about their culture, from practicing the haka to learning to paddle a waka. The reason I was able to take part in this was because the chief, the head, the person in charge, Hone Miaka, his tour company regularly takes tourists out on the river to learn about Maori culture, and he helped organize festivities surrounding Waitangi Day. And this year, 2012, was the first time that he was letting white people, non-Maoris, participate in the Waitangi events. It was a monumental time. In the days leading up to Waitangi Day, everyone would wake up early, around 7 a.m., and practice the steps to the haka and practice paddling in a waka. Since I had never done this before, there was a huge learning curve. I remember the first day being quite difficult because I couldn't remember what the commands meant, with many new words such as hoi kia mau, hoi ke runga, and hoi pehia. Then, after the second or third day of training, it just clicked. Suddenly, I knew all the positions for the paddle. So, you know, Waikerunga was paddle up, and Waipehia is paddle down. And it took me a while to get it, but I finally got it. One of the elders in the community, Bunny, actually told me that this was called the spirit of the waka. He said that when you're on the waka, the spirit of working together and everyone chanting creates a strong force. And I believed him, especially since I could barely remember the commands off of the waka. For many Maoris, it was their first time participating in the Waitangi Day festivities as well. Many of the people that were there were a part of the Mongrel Mob, one of New Zealand's most notorious gangs, known around New Zealand as people that you do not want to mess with. They're in the photos, they're all wearing red, and almost all of them had face tattoos. They were gang members. They told me stories about how they were in jail, how they killed people, and I was just like, oh, okay. But they were really incredible. You know, one of those people, his name was Sam, an 18-year-old who was part of the mob, covered in tattoos, like a young guy, like around my age. He had a very tough exterior, lots of tattoos, red baggy clothes, and yet at this place he was helping clean up, and he was washing the dishes, and he was just incredible. Whereas if I had seen Sam in the street, there's no way I would have gone up to him and been like, hey bro, how's it going? He even taught me how to throw a rugby ball, which was very helpful. I remember being impressed at how committed he was to the haka. He had so much strength and power in his steps. This was the first time he was able to participate in the Waitangi Day experiences. Every other year, he had just been watching on the sidelines and told me that he was really pumped to actually be in the Waka, the dragon boat, this year. After a few days of practicing, it was Waitangi Day. We woke up at 4:30 a.m. to get on the Wakas as soon as possible. When we got out on the water, the energy was palpable. No one was making silly jokes or getting distracted. It really meant something for the Maori people. Going in a waka to the beach was a representation of what their ancestors would have done 172 years ago. The day created awareness that their culture is still alive and it's here to stay. It was a message to all of the European settlers in New Zealand to honor the treaty that their ancestors signed. That's when I began to understand what a privilege it was for me to be there on the waka with the Maoris, fighting and in solidarity with them. When we landed on the beach, there were people everywhere watching us with their cameras held in front of their faces. You couldn't even tell that they were humans. I mean, they were, but their face was covered. So, they were just waiting to see what we would do. We performed the haka with so much power and vigor that I'm pretty sure we scared a few of them. It was an extremely exhilarating moment. Hone, the chief of the community that let me participate, said this mantra every day. Where canoes are tethered together, ideas are provoked, dialogue is exchanged, and enlightenment shines forth. Such a powerful message, and that's why he lets Pakeha, white people like me, participate in such an epic journey. If you are ever traveling to New Zealand and looking for the real cultural experience, I know that as a tourist, as a young tourist, everyone is always looking for something real. So it doesn't get any more real than this. After a month of doing the regular tourist track in New Zealand and having everything played out for me and meeting lots of people and leaving them the next day, it was the best feeling in the world to be welcomed into a community as if I were family. Despite not sharing a language or a heritage, we were unified through this experience, and I truly cannot wait to go back and spend another Waitangi Day with my Maori family. Thank you.
I would like to thank all of our storytellers. You guys were really amazing. Thank you very much.